So I promised you guys a video on how to minimize your distractions a while ago. 2 weeks ago, and I have not uploaded a video in 2 weeks. I'm fine. I'm alive. I'm okay. I'm just going through some stuff right now, similar to when I was going through in November, and I'm just trying to reorient myself. I wrote up a script. I had bullet points all set to prove out and everything on how to minimize distractions and whatnot. I have tried filming this video twice, and I think it's really lame, so I'm not gonna do it for 2 reasons. The advice that I noticed I was trying to give in these videos are kind of subjective. It all depends on what type of person you are. It all depends on what type of writer you are. It all depends on your routine. It depends on what your 9-to-5 lifestyle looks like, or if you're going to school or whatnot. So I feel like any type of advice that I am giving, especially when I was looking at it on paper, it didn't sit right with me. Instead of just talking about how to minimize those distractions, I would rather have a discussion about the biggest distraction of them all.
Listen to me when I say they will never go away. Run. Welcome to the jungle.
I am convinced that Pomodoro does not help as much as you think that it helps. I think Pomodoro is actually one of the biggest mistakes you could make as far as developing a healthy writing routine. I think it is one of the biggest distractions on AuthorTube. Realizing and trying to recognize that there are certain writers out there that this will help. There are certain writers out there that really struggle with, attention deficit disorder, and having 20 minutes to get some writing done and focus in small increments at least helps them to get something done. But, if you're not lengthening the times, and I'm not just talking about in one segment or one live stream, I'm talking about continuously increasing the amount of time that you are writing, which I have mentioned before, I feel like you're not only making your writing work, but you might actually be aiding this ADD mentality that we've got going on. I recognize that every writer is different. Given the number of live streams I've sat in, however, learn to recognize, especially when you have people announcing their word counts and you have people announcing how much work they're getting done or announcing that they weren't doing any work at all. I'm really convinced that the Pomodoro is more of a distraction in itself than it is a healthy habit to help you with your writing. I'm also aware that this video might not be popular. If Pomodoro helps you, leave a comment, let me know why, explain. I'm more than happy to learn about it. It doesn't bother me if I'm wrong about this, but it does bother me deeply, especially within a community that claims that they're doing, 4 to 6 hour live streams, and sometimes they're jumping from live stream to live stream to live stream, hosting and collabing with each other. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when you're doing these Pomodoro sprints and these writing sprints in Access, I just feel like it's not healthy, especially for the writing. So one of the reasons is obviously because you're just constantly distracted. You're constantly having to break out of that mode that you're in. Once you get into writing mode, you tend to want to stay in writing mode. And when you're constantly being brought out of writing mode, it's really difficult to kind of get into that spirit and get into that habit of just actually be enveloped in the story and actually being focused, because you're constantly being brought out of it. And because you're constantly being brought out of it, especially if you're dealing with anxiety, you're constantly ironing the timer. You're constantly flipping from one thing to another, or you might get a couple of sentences down and you might take a break. And this isn't going to really help your focus. This isn't really going to help you to train your mind to concentrate on your work and to concentrate on your writing, because you're constantly being distracted. If you're not being distracted by the timer going off, or by somebody speaking, or the chat box going off in the comment section, I see you, then you are going to be distracted constantly by your own thoughts, letting you know that you only have so much time, whether that's a good thing or whether that's a bad thing. You only have so much time if you can just push through this, or you only have so much time to get in as many words as possible. And given that most people, especially adults that are dealing with stress and everything going on today, that are fighting anxiety and that are fighting this, writing should be kind of a time to just relax, and it should be kind of like a downtime for your mind to just escape from anything, like you would a movie, like you would reading a book. And I get that we want the sense of community and that we enjoy being a part of the writing community, but if we're actually being honest with ourselves, yourselves? How much work do you actually feel like you're getting done during these live streams? With these live streams, when you're only putting like 10 to 15 minutes into a book, I feel like we shouldn't really, firstly, I don't think that we should be setting such small time limits, but secondly, I don't think that we should be setting small goals for ourselves to reach, because again, that just kind of encourages that work mentality and that work aspect of it. You have to get this done. You have to get this done, even because it's in baby steps, and you're never going to get anywhere if you just don't get this done, even if it's just for the day. If you're doing like 4 to 6 hour live streams, I feel like you're not only exhausting yourself and you're exhausting the efforts, but it's going to take more effort to make these small increments work than it would be to just sit down for an hour and write. Obviously, you can't do that on a live stream because it's boring. There's no interaction, and there's really no point of collabing with someone if you're not going to talk for an hour straight, and I totally get that. But it's the number of live streams that I've seen, and it's the number of the same people that I see on these live streams that can kind of tell that they might be social writers, they might be in it for the community and whatnot. That's fine, but if you want to get serious about your writing, and if you want to get serious about getting writing done, I really don't think Pomodoro is a good keepsake. That's not something to really keep you in routine. That might help you like start it, but I feel like the counting, like anything, if you want to sit down and write, you need to like make yourself sit down and write. Sometimes you're not going to feel like it, and sometimes it is going to feel like a chore, and it's not always going to feel like this grand thing. But the more you put it off, the more you procrastinate about it, and the more you build it up in your head that it is actually a bigger piece of work than you are ready to tackle. And especially if you look at it as the big picture, as like, well, I'm not just writing a short story, I'm writing a novel, larger each time. So you're not just counting out like 300 words each segment and being like, I got 300 words, I'm done for the day. But like, build upon that with time so that you can kind of push yourself forward and actually give yourself a little bit of momentum so that you are growing with your writing. I'll see you guys in my next video.
Welcome to the jungle.